Okay, so we've now got a model that we've created and animated, or not animated, that's what we're going to do next. And we've applied textures, and as we can see here, we've used groups to arrange our different parts. So without these groups, we can't actually animate our character, because these are what we're going to actually apply the movements and animations to. If you haven't, you've just gone and used the cuboids and meshes to create, you can always go and add the groups later and drag the different components in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Animate tab, and we now have our timeline, and we can see it's got a playback speed, and sometimes we might be missing a few extra things. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go Customize, going to go to Animation. I don't need the Add Animation button because it's up there, but I am going to add the animation length and an Add Keyframe button. So what we have now is a few different little options for our animation. And we can see at the moment it's capped out. So let's go and add an animation. So animation.model, let's leave those parts there, and let's call it, let's call it just movement. And we're going to leave these set as default, and we can tell them we want it to loop. So that will mean our animation is going to go around over and over in the loop. We can always just double click on it to open it up again. Now I've got my timeline, and now we can see this animation length has popped up. I'm going to say, let's drag that out to say, have it say 3 seconds long. That's what we're going to plan for. I'm going to add a keyframe at the start. So I've got my animation just where I want, and we can see actually all the different parts of the body we want to animate. So I've got my left leg, head, legs, and then I can also get my right leg. So we've got all the different parts. So let's just add a keyframe with the position of that leg, and let's actually, before we do anything, let's go and rotate this one out of the way. So I'm just going to assume that's going to be a pivot point. Obviously we can modify a few other different things as well. So we've now got our left leg that's been rotated, and technically that is the character's left leg, and position of that one has been sort of set. And what we might also do is let's actually go and move this. We can choose if we want it in global space, so we can just move that out and up. So these are our starting positions. Now I'm going to go out to 0.75, and now I'm going to add another keyframe, and let's go and rotate, move this one up, and we're going to rotate that as well, and we're going to take the other one, rotate it down, move it down, and I might move that in as well. Now if I hit the play button, obviously it's not doing anything on the last section. We can see it is playing that first little bit of the animation. Now what we could also do is let's go from here, let's put say at 1.5, let's add another keyframe. Let's take that pivot point and let's actually just move that in a bit, because this is going to change where that object spins from. And now let's just rotate that, let's rotate it forward and up. Let's get the other leg, we'll do the same with that one's pivot point. So pivot points are really useful, not just when drawing, but for positioning our objects. And we're not going to move it, we're just going to spin that back down, rotate it back, and let's move it out a bit as well. So we can just position our object just how we want them. And I need to make sure I know where those original positions were. As we can see, that one's sort of stuck up a little bit, so let's just move that back down. That's mostly because I should have moved the pivot points initially. So let's just double check that. Well, probably not spun it the best direction. So let's look at what's going on there. So that's our right leg. So sometimes our keyframes, maybe we need to think about how we're going to organize these. So sometimes you need a few more keyframes to get the work how you want them to happen. I'm actually not going to worry too much about that, but let's actually just bring this back. So I'm just going to copy that keyframe, add another one there. And let's just pull these up. I should have actually just gone and done the very last keyframe is exactly what we wanted. And let's put out, reset these just back to our 0, 0. So your animations will take a bit of time. Let's just save that as we're going. Okay, we've got that texture torus, that halo. And let's just play that. So it's not going to be a smooth animation as I'd like, but we've got an idea. What I can then also do, let's choose the head. And we can just have this one sort of spin around. So what we're going to do is we'll do this one properly. So this, we're going to put a keyframe right at the start. And let's put a keyframe right at the end for where we want it to go. And then say at 0.75, we are just going to rotate it to the left. And at 1.5, we're going to rotate it to the right. So we see we've got a nice smooth animation here. And let's just, for the sake of things, let's just get this going absolutely crazy. We could actually even modify the scale, so you can actually change how big something gets if we wanted to. Okay, so that is basically it for our animation. So we can get these quite nicely in, and we can bring those into Blockbench, or actually into Godot. So then we would do our export GLTF, but just make sure that export animations is selected. But in the next video, we'll look at how to import objects and make sure they've got collision detection on them.